Welcome to the Mastering Business Skills podcast, where we interview successful small business owners who share their own journey, mastering the skills they needed to grow and be successful in their business. Learn the struggles, the wins, and all the things they learned along the way, so you can cut down on your own learning curve.
Welcome to Mastering Business Skills. On today's show, we're talking to Erika Steinberg. Erika started CMO2Go because she believes that expert marketing is not just for the largest law firms. More than 6 years later, CMO2Go now works with mid-sized law firms around the US, helping them to create roadmaps for success with marketing planning, executing on those plans, and keeping their momentum going by bridging any gaps in their marketing teams. Whether building marketing infrastructure, managing firm rebrands, or leading complex initiatives, Erika helps law firms create marketing functions that are strategic, effective, and sustainable. Before launching CMO2Go, Erika held senior marketing leadership roles at Sidley Austin, Kay Schooler, and Erin, where she led global teams, spearheaded firm-wide initiatives, and built operational efficiencies within marketing departments. With more than 30 years in legal marketing and business development, she speaks fluent lawyer, understands how law firms operate, and is confident in CMO2Go's ability to work effectively within them. Welcome to the show, Erika. We're so excited to talk to you today.
Thank you. 30 years. When you say that out loud, it kind of makes me go.
I know. I feel the same way every time I say I've been doing this for 28 years.
It can't possibly be that long.
I know, exactly. So I wanted to start off today by having you tell us a little bit about what you do and what inspired you to start your business, and what needs did you see that you knew you would be able to fill when you went into this?
I've been in law firm marketing almost my entire career. I've worked in law firms for my entire career, which is funny because I'm not a lawyer. I reached that critical juncture where I was thinking, what do I do next with my education? And I was between law school and business school. And at that point in the early 90s, or mid 90s, every lawyer who I knew, and there were a lot of them, said, don't go to law school. So I went to business school instead. But I've been working with law firms for quite a long time. And at my last firm, it was Sidley Austin, huge global firm. And I loved it there. It was such a fantastic place to be. And one of the things that I realized was that when somebody was leaving or going out on leave, whether it was maternity leave or some other kind of leave, we would need somebody to step in because we didn't want the work to have to go onto somebody else's already very full plate. And there wasn't really a market for that. So there wasn't a market for just pulling in somebody for a handful of months to really help. And I mean somebody who had a lot of experience. There wasn't any kind of market for that in the US. They had a mature market for it in the UK, but not here. So that was one of the things that I really wanted to fill because it was a need that I had. And that has been one of the core services that we offer now with CMO2Go. The other part of what I saw was when I moved from New York City up to the suburbs, I'm now up in Westchester County, about an hour north. I met a lot of people. And as I was up here, I would start to talk to people at different law firms and ask them, and they were mostly smaller and mid-sized firms. And I would ask them, what are you doing with your marketing? How are you handling that? And I got a lot of blank stares, or I got a lot of I'm not sure, or, we haven't really found a solution that's working for us. So that became the other part of what I wanted to offer to firms was having access to senior level marketing executives without having to hire somebody full time. Because when you're with a mid-sized firm, you still need to do all of the same things as a large global firm needs to do. You just maybe you do need to do it with different tools, and you need to do it with a different budget and with a different kind of staff. So we wanted to be able to fill that need as well. And that's primarily where our focus is these days, on bridging a gap and also being that extra set of hands for mid-sized law firms and for smaller law firms.
Right. It's interesting because when I first met you, probably a couple of years ago, I actually thought you were
more than a couple now.
Yes, actually more than a couple. Yeah. several years back. But yeah, I thought you were a lawyer when I first met you because of what you did and everybody that you knew and stuff. So that's interesting.
Yep.
So I know you went to business school. What were the most important skills you needed to start your business outside of that? And how did you acquire those skills? Were there things that you need to learn outside of that being an entrepreneur or?
So, you know what? Honestly, nothing prepared me for being an entrepreneur. Um, Business school, well, let me take that back. Going to business school, especially since I did it at night while I was working full time, that taught me a valuable lesson. And that was I can literally do anything that I set my mind to, between balancing a full time job, and it was a demanding job at that time. I was working for a large national firm. And also going to school at night and meeting new people, making new friends, and keeping up with all of the schoolwork. uh, that was no part of my day was left unscheduled. Everything was scheduled, and it taught me I can do anything. Um, and so that in and of itself was a valuable lesson, because when you're starting your own business, anything and everything is thrown at you. You know this, I mean, things that you never expect. And so that in and of itself, I think, was incredibly valuable. The other thing that was really helpful to me was, and I've been learning this on the go as I've started my business, is this notion of whatever that I am my own greatest obstacle. I am my own greatest obstacle to success. So once I came to terms with that, and also came to terms with the fact that anything going on in my personal life is going to affect me in my business life. Anything going on in my business life is going to affect me in my personal life. And the two are so intertwined. When you're working for somebody else, if you're having a bad day, you could say, oh, it's the firm, it's the place, it's my boss, it's this, I'm just having a bad day. When you work for yourself and the same issues keep coming up, there's no place to hide. Now I'm the boss. It's my company. So it really has taught me how to tease apart these different challenges that are more personal. I call it, it's not personal challenges, but obstacles, hangups, things like that are affecting me. And now I've had the opportunity to really look at those and to work through those and resolve them in a way that I didn't when I was an employee someplace else. And I'm not sure why. Maybe it's because there's no place else to hide. It's
Yeah.
me and my team, but I'm the one who's calling the shots. But that was incredibly interesting to me, and was a great lesson. The skills, there are definitely some skills that I wish that I had had, and that I wish even today that I could develop faster. I would say the most important thing that I needed to have personally for me was an absolute belief in what I'm doing. I always said I would never, my husband's in sales. He's been in sales almost his whole career. And I used to say I could never do that. I could never do that. And once I started my business, it doesn't even feel like sales. It feels like I have a skill set. I have a way that I can help. And so I don't feel like I'm selling it to somebody. I feel like I am telling them, this is how I can help you. This is how I can be of service. And if it works from a personality perspective, from a needs perspective, from a budgeting perspective, then great, we're going. And if it doesn't, that's okay. Guy gesund, as my grandmother would say, and I wish you well. But that faith in myself, and that knowledge that what I have to offer is valuable, and that I'm here to help, that was what I really needed for me to be able to start my business and to keep it going.
Yeah. I think as entrepreneurs and small business owners, I think we all kind of struggle with that, especially in the beginning. I mean, I know myself, Erin, you and I have talked about this many, many times. It's the same. I think for all of us, we need to understand that not everybody has our skill set, and that's a very valuable thing to have.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times I don't think we truly realize that, especially in the beginning.
Yes.
So looking back what skills do you wish that maybe you'd learned sooner?
Oh, Erin's going to laugh at this one because she knows me. I wish that I had learned how to more accurately price projects and services better. That's something that I still work with, that I still work on. And I speak to a lot of people who are starting their own businesses in my field. And I tell them what a dear friend of mine told me when I started, which is you're going to get it wrong for the first few years. Be at peace with it. You're going to leave some money on the table. Hopefully, it won't be major money, but you're going to leave some money on the table and just know that you'll get better at it. So I've definitely been living that and still working on it. Um, and also I've started CMO2Go a little bit more than 6 years ago now. And in that time, AI has really come to the forefront. And I wish that I had gotten more comfortable with AI sooner in the process. Now I am, and now I feel like I'm using it effectively. So I'm happy with that. I wish I had learned a little bit better about, I wish I had learned that better, and how to harness the power of it a little bit sooner than I did. And also digital marketing. And this is still a blind spot for me where I rely on other people to help me. And when I say digital marketing, I mean like really my website. I kind of feel like it's a little bit of a black hole, and what, uh, I'm not sure how to analyze and use the analytics in my own website. I have team members who do this for clients, and but it's a classic case of what is it, the cobbler's kids go without shoes. So I feel like I'm going without my shoes in this regard. And again, something that I'm working on.
Yeah, I feel like AI, I was the same way though. I kind of held back from AI for the longest time, and then
Yeah.
just to see how it panned out, and then got used, just started fairly recently using it more like you, and getting used to it, and you and I, like, we've seen how one program will put something one way and another program puts it a
Yeah.
different way, and so yeah.
Yep.
And so you offer a couple of interesting services that I want to have you share more about. So you have a blueprint planning service and a bridge a gap service. And what did you see that prompted you to start those two services in particular?
Well, Bridge a Gap was something that I wanted to start because, again, it was a need that I had when I was in house. I really needed people to come in. I needed seasoned and experienced marketing and BD professionals to come in and to help with the workload when somebody left or when someone was going on leave. In legal marketing is still today a very competitive field. And if somebody leaves, depending on what position you're looking for and how specialized it is, you could be looking at a recruiting process that's going to be 3 or 4 months long. If you're looking for a very senior person, it could be even longer than that. So you don't want to lose momentum on that. And we've had a number of clients that have come to us and then come to us again to bridge a gap. And bridging a gap isn't just about when somebody leaves or is going on leave. It can also be a gap that a firm has in their team where their team is already fully at capacity and absolutely cooking with gas and doing everything that they need to be doing. And then there's something else that they want to get done, and they just haven't been able to find the capacity or create the bandwidth to do it. So at CMO2Go, we can come in and we could either help them with that special project, or we can handle the day-to-day so they can do the special project. So again, bridging that gap for them and stretching out their resources. So that's one area. Blueprint is planning. A blueprint is a plan, a roadmap, and that is something that I saw missing in a number of firms that I worked with. And I started doing this almost from the very beginning. Planning was a service that I offered. I firmly believe that if you don't have a marketing plan, you are shooting arrows in the dark. Or a favorite saying among legal marketers is stop committing random acts of marketing. You're chasing shiny objects, which is fun and it's energizing because they're shiny and then you catch them and you do that thing, but they don't add up to much. You just have a pile of shiny objects. So I tell law firm leaders, money doesn't grow on trees, so it really pays to be focused, and having a blueprint, a plan for where you want to go and what the most impactful marketing projects will be for your firm in the coming year is time well spent. And so we do it in half a day, and with some advanced meetings beforehand, and then we have a plan and a roadmap and a way to go forward. So that helps firms that are getting started. It's helpful to firms that are getting restarted with their marketing, where they feel like they've been spinning their wheels and not really getting anywhere. So those two services, I would say, form the core of what we offer at CMO2Go, and then we can build whatever custom marketing projects are needed for a firm, whether it's a rebrand, a website refresh, whatever is going on, getting a handle, building up a marketing culture at a firm, business development projects, as well as filling in gaps wherever a firm might need it.
And with those blueprints, do you find that is you're doing those for clients that you're signing on to work with, or do you do that? Is that an offering that, say, a small firm could come to you, get the blueprint, and then have their in-house team run with the strategy?
Absolutely. They could do it either way. And we have clients that have come to us and said, I'd like a planning session, but then we want to be able to implement it ourselves. And we can absolutely do that. And then if they find that there are some gaps that where maybe they need some additional support, then we can step in for those, in those specific areas. When I work with a firm that has a marketing team, I absolutely tell them that their in-house marketing team should be at that planning session, because they're going to be the ones who are going to be working on the implementation, the execution. And also I find that it's helpful for them to see, how's the sauce made. So it's not so secret. You want them to be able to be part of it. They have a lot to add to those meetings because they know the firm so well. And if they're new, then it's a good way for them to get to know the firm and get to know the priorities.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
And if you could give one piece of advice to law firm leaders, what would it be?
Just one? I'm limited to one.
you can offer us more than one.
Yeah.
What are your top three pieces?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I would say again, have a plan. Invest the time in a plan, in creating a plan. And a lot of times when people think about marketing planning, they think about spending 3 or 4 days in a conference room and they're exhausted and they come out with a binder that's got 50 pieces of paper in it and it looks really pretty, but it's going to go in a drawer, it's going to sit on a shelf, and nobody's going to do anything with it. That kind of planning is, that doesn't serve anybody. So invest some time in some planning that is going to yield and surface projects that will have an impact on the firm, that will move the needle, that will make a difference. Pick whatever, acronym you want, not acronym, analogy you want, and but do something that will make a difference for the firm. And in the planning process, I think it is essential that the law firm leaders, at least one leader, be involved in that process. Because number one, we need the leader's perspective, and we also need the leader's buy-in. Because then when you go to execute, you've got that support from the top, and that makes a difference in planning too. But that would be that. And when I work with clients, I actually insist on that. If a firm comes to me and says, we want to do a planning session, but none of the decision makers in the firm are going to be present, that's a big red flag to me. And I've told clients or prospective clients, if your leaders are not involved in this, none of them are involved in this or invested in this, you're going to be throwing money out the window, because you'll have a plan and nobody's going to do anything with it.
Yeah.
So I think that's probably the biggest one. Another piece of advice that I would give to law firm leaders is really engage with your marketing staff. A lot of times in marketing, I'm seeing a change now in the larger firms. Everybody's seeing this big change in the larger firms where CMOs really are participating in setting firm strategy. And I think that's something that doesn't just belong at the larger firms, because when you have a smaller firm or a mid-sized firm, there are fewer lawyers. So the CMOs that I know who came from big firms and went to mid-sized firms love it, because they can actually get to know everybody, every single partner at the firm, and forge relationships with those people. So you have somebody who's already there, who has relationships with all of your partners, basically all of your owners, and who knows about strategy and marketing and business development and communications and all of the things that can help the firm. Listen to that person, give them a seat at the table, engage with them, bring them into your executive committee meetings or management committee meetings, and ask them for their perspective, because it will only help the firm. It doesn't mean you have to do everything that they say, of course not, but get their perspective, take advantage of that resource that you have sitting right there.
Yeah, that's great advice.
Yeah.
So how do you continue learning and improving as a business owner? I mean, I know you share on LinkedIn about choose your own adventure. So can you share with us and our listeners a little bit of the story behind that?
Yes. So I wish it was a better story. I would just have a happier ending, but it was a good lesson. That particular post was me sharing a story about a proposal that I put together for a client. And I thought it was a great proposal. I thought it laid out, here you can, if you want to do the blueprint process, the planning process, you have this. You need to bridge a gap in your marketing team while you hire a full-time person or a couple of full-time people, and you can pick from these different hours packages depending on how much time you think you need. And then we're also available to you to help you if you need assistance with the recruiting process, or if you want to participate in that. And so I thought, I was so proud of that proposal. And then I spoke to one of the partners, and he said, well, we really liked meeting you. The proposal felt a little too choose your own adventure. And I said, what do you mean? He said, well, we weren't sure what the plan would be, and we weren't sure which direction to go in. So what for me offered them great flexibility, which is something that I know law firms value. It was too much flexibility. I went too far in that direction, and they wanted to be led a little bit more than that. So that was a very valuable lesson for me. And I was like, oh man, what a rookie mistake. But honestly, I don't even think it's a rookie mistake. I think it was a misstep that I made at exactly the right time that I made it in my career. And it turned out where I could recognize it as a valuable lesson rather than a mistake. So that was, and the other part of it was that I ended up not getting the business. It went to a different agency, and I know them and I know their work, and this firm is in very good hands, and I'm happy for them. And I would, of course, relish the opportunity to work with them in the future if it presents itself. But the other thing that I did is I reached out and I asked the partner, can you give me some feedback on this? And he graciously said yes. And so we spoke for about 15 minutes about it. And that was another lesson. If this had happened earlier in my career as an entrepreneur, I am absolutely certain that I would have reacted like, oh my goodness, they didn't like me. They didn't like this. I wasn't good enough. I would have reacted from a very different perspective. And instead, the perspective that I took was, yay for me. I asked for feedback, which is something that I wouldn't have done 3, 4, 5 years ago.
Right.
And I listened to that feedback, and I turned it from this failure into something that I can learn from, which is really a gift. So that was, that to me was absolutely invaluable. And I think signals to me that maybe I'm maturing a little bit. I'm finally gaining some maturity in my mid-50s. It's about time. But again, it goes back to what I said in the beginning, that owning your own business will bring up any insecurity, any issue that you have that hasn't been resolved. So my reaction to this one showed me, wow, like I have made progress in this. And
Right.
I am showing up in a way for myself and my business and for my own success in a way that I was really proud of myself, even though I felt like I won, even though I didn't win the business. It was still a big win for me.
It was a learning experience.
Yes, it was
Yeah.
a learning experience, and it was, and I created it, I turned it into a positive learning experience. So I'm not
Right.
even the least little bit upset. I feel like if it's meant to be that I work with this firm, it will happen. I got along with them. I think that it'll be an exciting place, and I'm looking forward to seeing how they show up in the marketing world, as they hired their first marketing director. So if it comes up that I'm able to work with them in the future, wonderful. And if not, I still learned this very valuable lesson and realized that I've made progress in a way as a business leader and as a business owner that I've been wanting to do.
Yeah.
Nice.
That's,
And I feel
that's
like
great.
we've all done that choose your own adventure proposal.
Right.
I know I have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when I
Yeah.
posted that, actually, a number of people commented and said, yeah, we've all been there. So,
Yeah. Exactly.
Yep, you think you're
So,
doing it like to benefit them, and yep, and they're
yeah.
just like, no, I want you to just tell me what to do.
And then someone told me I've been working with this woman, Ariana Tanine, on business processes. And she said something when we first started working together that made me very uncomfortable in the moment, but I had to really lean into it. She said, you've created your business so it's good and works for your clients, but is it working for you? She said, you have to create your business so it works for you, Erika. And I was uncomfortable with that, which was really interesting to me. I said, well, no, it's got to work for the clients, because if it doesn't work for them, they won't be clients. And she said, well, no, if it works for you, it will by extension work for them, because you will be working at your highest level. You'll be operating at your highest level, which will benefit your clients. And I'm happy to say that I did get comfortable with that very quickly. Sometimes it still catches me where I'm like, oh, should I do this? And then I do it anyway. And I'm like, oh, everything turned out great.
yeah.
That was, again, another thing that never even occurred to me, that, oh, I can set this up so it's good for me first.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right. Right. So, what does success mean to you? And how has your definition of your success changed from the beginning to now?
Ooh, the beginning of my career or the beginning of
Yeah.
my career as an entrepreneur?
As an entrepreneur.
As an entrepreneur. Okay. So I would say when I first started my business, success was all tied to getting the client and doing well for the client and getting that feedback from the client. So success for me at the beginning was all external to me. I had no control over it, which is not a good place to be.
Right.
Now, success for me is things like not getting the business and looking at it and saying, wow, this was a really good lesson for me. And I've brought success more to be internal to me. So I can't control if a client is going to sign on with me or not, and sign on with CMO2Go or not,
Right.
but I can control how I react to it. And so that has, rather than giving control to some external entity, now I've taken it back into my own hands. And I think that has been a huge difference. Because if your success or your happiness is something that is defined by something that somebody else does or that somebody else says, you're constantly at their mercy,
Yeah.
of external forces, no matter, and usually unknowing and unwitting external forces, of course, because these are law firms and they're going about their business as they should, doing what they need to do for the firm. But now bringing it back inside, bringing it internally, even if something doesn't go the way I wanted it to go, from a business perspective, I can still find the good lesson. I can still find the positive. I can still find the win in that. And that makes a difference for me in how I feel in my business every day, in how I feel as an entrepreneur, as a business owner. It makes me better at what I do because I come at things from just a different perspective.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So there's certain things that I kind of do every morning, and I know Erin and I have kind of had this conversation about this too. But you're talking about control. You have no control. Just this morning in my journaling, I wrote the statement, I have no control what others do. I cannot control what others think. I cannot control. So that to me this morning was a big kickoff. So that's one of my kind of personal habits is that I tend to kind of make some notes of a morning just to kind of start my day. So is there any personal habit or any kind of daily practice that you think has contributed to your success as an entrepreneur?
Yes, for sure. I wish I could say that I am as diligent in doing it every day, but when I feel the difference when I don't. So I then it signals to me that I need to, bring this back into my life. I am I guess about a year and a half ago now, almost 2 years ago, maybe. No, just over a year ago, I joined ShiftCo, which made a very big difference for me. ShiftCo works with business owners to help them grow their businesses, but it's for conscious business owners. And I became very aware of the fact that I was my own biggest obstacle. And so ShiftCo really was the perfect fit for me, because they provide training, not only training in that you need for business, so how to use AI appropriately, how to set up your website so it converts for you, how to do differentiation, how to differentiate yourself in the marketplace. It also provides what they call personal fuel, how to basically how to marketing, conscious selling, how to get out of your own way, how to recognize your own personal obstacles and work through those. So that has helped me a lot. And through some ShiftCo programs, I have a prosperity, um, practice that I do almost every morning, and I forget. When I forget, then I feel it. So I started to put it on my calendar so I could do it, and even then, sometimes I go past it. So I do that. Sometimes I pull out. I listen to this podcast called "Differently" with Carla Reeves, and it is wonderful. I really like anything that Carla's saying. It just resonates so much for me. So I listened to her podcast, and I just gathered a new tip with just getting my thoughts out into a Google document. And she provided 5 different prompts, 5 questions you could ask yourself. So I just started that today. And then I also set aside some time for journaling when I need it. So I do my prosperity practice it's like my own meditation. And it's not just about prosperity and money, it is for myself. The biggest game changer for me was when I realized several months ago that I would say, "Oh, I don't have time to do my meditation this morning because I have to do my work." And then it hit me really hard. I was like, "Wait a second. This other stuff, this is my work. This is my job. This is my work. If I don't do my work on myself, it's going to make it that much harder to do my job and to do my work for my clients." So that became realizing that became a game changer for me, that I was looking at it differently. And I think that's something that a lot of people struggle with, and perhaps especially women struggle with, that you can find time for everything else, but not for yourself. And so that is something that I've become very aware of, that I need to make this time for myself, because then it's like putting my own oxygen mask on first. I've got to have that, because if I'm breathing, then I can go around and do whatever else I need. If I'm not breathing, if I'm not getting that oxygen, it's going to make it very hard to do anything else.
That's a great analogy.
Yeah.
Very, very true.
Mm-hmm.
So what's next for your business? And are there any new skills? I know we kind of talked about AI. Are there any new skills for your business that you're looking forward to learning?
For me personally, I see the business being now really like poised to really grow in ways that I wasn't ready for before. I've got I feel like a lot of resources have been put into place. A lot of scaffolding really has been put into place that will allow the business to grow now. And I'm looking forward to that. Like everything, every day I'm just like, okay, bring it on. I trust that, I want to get whatever business we can get. And I trust that if it's good for me and good for the business and good for the team, that it's going to come our way. And if it doesn't, then it wasn't right. And I can be fine and, just let go of whatever I need to let go of. So I feel like we're really poised for that. And for me, the skills that that progression, that step forward, I think will automatically put me in a position where I can then learn more about scaling the business and balancing between expanding my team, expanding our services. So I'll be living it really as I am, as we're going through it. And I'm really looking forward to that. Um, I'm always looking forward to, something I'd like to learn actually for myself. I want to take time and I really want to learn Canva better because I don't because I should. But I also, just something that I want to do. I think that it will be, it'll free me up a little bit more, just so I can do something for myself like that.
Right.
And what else? And I want to get better at the pricing. That I think that is a never ending journey. I really do. I think it's a never ending journey that I want to continue to improve. And basically maybe that's the theme, is that whatever I'm doing now, I want to get better at what I'm doing now. I think I'm a good leader. I feel like I'm a good leader. I want to be shown ways that I can, get even better at it and improve there. So
That's
I'm
awesome.
excited. Ultimately, though, I'm really excited for where things are going, and where it's taking me. I'm so glad that I started this business. I'm so glad that I've stuck with it. Um, and I'm so glad that I've built up the network that I have of people. So when I'm having a tough day, and Erin has sat in this seat a lot opposite me when I'm having a tough day, and I'm just like, oh, I don't know if I'm ready. And she'll say to me, are you sure you're not ready? Or is this just one of your fears getting in the way? And I'm like, oh, damn it, I hate when she says that because she's always right.
Yeah.
But having somebody reflect that back to me has given me and has given me the confidence to say, you know what, you're right. Let's just do it. Let's go for it.
Yeah. That's important to have somebody that can do that.
Yes. And I'm very fortunate that Erin has gotten to know me over the years, that she knows when I am dragging my feet out of my own fears versus actually maybe not being ready.
Yeah.
And I hate when she brings that up, because she's always right with it. So annoying.
I believe me, I understand.
You know too, yeah.
I'm sure I've done that to Sharon too.
Just, all the time.
Yep. But it's good. Thank goodness for it,
Yeah. I have one more question for you that I didn't, kind of expect, but it kind of came to me out of what you were saying. So you have a very positive energy and a great mindset around everything and how you look at everything, whether it's challenges or wins or whatever. So is there anything you can share with anybody listening to kind of explain how to keep that positivity and keep that mindset, even when things might be not going the way you thought they would, or plans changed, or, or you have a sudden shift or a fire to put out or something like that?
So I'm not a coach at all. So I can talk about what's worked for me, and maybe that'll resonate for other people as well. One of the things that's really helped me is developing my own awareness and my own level of consciousness about what I'm feeling. It used to be, and when I say used to be, I mean, like even as recently as just a few years ago, and sometimes even still now, I would find myself just off. Maybe the weather is gray, it's really rainy, or I'm not feeling well, or something like that. But again, at the mercy of external factors, and I would let it just kind of spin me around, and I would just, feel like I got up on the wrong side of the bed and everything would annoy me and stuff like that. And then I end up taking it out on my kids, on my husband, maybe it's somebody at work, or a client says, oh, I'm not happy about something. And then I would read it as like, oh my God, knife to my chest, I messed up and now they don't like me anymore. So developing my own awareness when that's happening has been a really huge tool for me. It doesn't mean that I can always pull myself out of it, but it means that at least I can recognize it. And so sometimes I will recognize it and say, I'm having a bad day, or I'm feeling this way. And maybe I feel like I can't quite do much about it right now, but at least I recognize, like I can separate myself from it and I can recognize and observe it. That's the right word. Like I can observe it and say, okay, I feel this. This is what's going on. I've been here before. And, there are things that I can do to help it run its course. But I also know that it's going to come to an end. And there are times when I can help it along. For me, connecting with somebody really helps. Sometimes, for me, I don't drink much caffeine because it really affects me. Sometimes having a little caffeine, like putting a little regular coffee in my decaf, actually really helps me with that. And I love it when it's that easy. Sometimes, going to the gym, doing, like I will literally drop to the ground and start doing push-ups to get myself out of my head and into my body. So I've learned the different things that work for me. And I think, and everybody's got to learn what works for them and learn a variety of them, because sometimes push-ups don't help. Sometimes caffeine doesn't help. Sometimes, sometimes I've got to go out to lunch with a friend or go out for a walk. And some days I just have to say, you know what? I'm just going to call it, and I am going to be at peace with the fact that I'm not going to get much work done today because of something going on with me. And I'm going to give myself the grace and the relaxation to take a break and come back tomorrow.
Yeah.
That's great.
I love that, especially the fact that you do use all the different tools to help in whatever, because that is true. We can't have just one thing. It's not always going to work, that same thing. So
music for me is a great lift. I have a playlist of things to change my state of mind. And I listen to that. I did that earlier today because I started out today not in a great state of mind.
Yeah.
And was able to really, I was able to really flip it. I was really able to flip it, and I'm proud of myself. And I would also say, when you are able to do that, take the time to celebrate it and acknowledge yourself for it, because it's not easy. It is not an easy thing to do, to change your state of mind and to change your frame of mind. So when you're able to do it, to be like, oh yeah, look at what I did.
Yeah. It sounds like you and Sharon had the same start to their day, to your day.
But yeah, I mean, I'm like you. I had a bad start, but it was like, okay, I'm aware of how I'm feeling right now. I need to just put that aside, not think about it right now, and kind of go on. And I had a meditation that I did, and that kind of helped kickstart me a little bit. And then I called Erin. She's like, well, you can call me anytime. And I'm like, no, I'm good. I'll just, text you. And then I finally said, nope, I'm going to call you. and
that helps. Yeah.
Yeah.
So even though she drives us crazy, she's also very helpful.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Erin and I have been friends for, oh God, I don't even know how many years. I'm not even going to try to count.
No, let's not even put a number on it. Who cares?
Yeah, no, but we have learned over the years that we can at least vent to each other and commiserate on our bad days.
Yes.
But, it's one of those that you are aware of it, but tomorrow's a new day and it's totally going to be different.
Yeah. Yeah. And I feel like as entrepreneurs, we frequently end up working on our own, like in our own space, and having that connection. And and for me, I've realized also, and I haven't done anything yet to build this in more permanently, but I'm thinking about ways that I can. having in-person connection on a regular basis.
Yeah.
Really helpful. Yesterday, I was at a client's office for a couple of hours with somebody on my team who's, also working on the client. And when we left, we both had so much energy and it felt so good.
Mhm.
It was just, we got so much done, but it also just felt good to be in a room together. So, looking for opportunities like that, and build it, if that's something that helps, building it into your day or your,
Yeah, that's great advice. That's great advice.
Yeah. Especially working virtually. I think we all need that connection.
yeah.
Kind of just sitting at our desk all the time. And even Zoom doesn't have that same connection. So
Yeah, it can help. It can help sometimes, for sure.
yeah.
But building in some more, in-person time, I think it's
Mhm. Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah, so thank you so much for being on the show today. And we are going to put in the show notes, we'll put your LinkedIn and how to contact you and your website, all of that. And for anybody listening in, we hope you tune in next time. And we are, again, so grateful for your time today, Erica.
Thank you. It was so much
Thank
fun
you
talking
so
to both of
much.
you.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
thank you.